Hey y'all! In this video, I'm going to be talking about an incredible melanated woman that many people may have never heard of, Cathay Williams, a woman who disguised herself as a man so she could serve and fight during the Civil War. Does that sound familiar? Y'all remember the movie Mulan? I find it interesting how stories like this can become famous through Hollywood, while the real women who lived similar experiences are often left out of the conversation. But this story isn't just history, it's our history. It's why people like me exist, to bring these forgotten stories back to life and make sure women like Cathay Williams get the recognition they deserve. Sit back, grab your snacks, and enjoy the video. And don't forget to hype me up, like, subscribe, share, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace. Cathay Williams is one of the most remarkable and lesser-known figures in American military history. Born around September 1844 in Missouri, Cathay's early life eventually brought her into contact with Union military forces during the Civil War, where she worked as a cook and laundress. This experience gave her first-hand knowledge of military life. She learned how soldiers traveled, how camps operated, and what daily military routines looked like. After the Civil War, Cathay decided that she wanted to earn her own living and become financially independent. Since women were not permitted to enlist as regular soldiers, she made the extraordinary decision to present herself as a man. November 15, 1866, at approximately 22 years old, she enlisted under the name William Cathay in Company A of the 38th United States Infantry Regiment. She signed up for a 3-year term and became part of one of the black regular Army units that would later become associated with the Buffalo Soldiers. Cathay successfully passed the enlistment examination and began life as a soldier. She wore the uniform, marched with the troops, carried military equipment, performed guard duties, lived in military camps, and traveled throughout the American West. Her regiment was stationed at and traveled through several military posts, including Jefferson Barracks in Missouri, Fort Riley and Fort Harker in Kansas, Union and Fort Cummings in New Mexico Territory, and eventually Fort Bayard. In her service, Cathay endured the same difficult conditions as the other soldiers, including long marches, harsh weather, disease, exhaustion, and difficult frontier living conditions. Historians estimate that she may have covered approximately 1,000 miles on foot for nearly 2 years with the regiment. She also became seriously ill with smallpox and spent time in military hospitals before returning to her unit. Later, she continued experiencing health problems and was hospitalized several times. In June 1868, her company moved to Fort Bayard in New Mexico Territory, where Cathay's health continued to decline. In July, she was admitted to the post hospital with severe health problems, including neuralgia, and eventually a military surgeon discovered that Private William Cathay was actually Cathay Williams. Her secret had finally been uncovered. Cathay was not court-martialed, and instead, she was discharged from the Army on October 14, 1868, under a surgeon's certificate of disability. She had served for nearly 2 years of the 3-year enlistment she originally agreed to. Although there is no solid evidence that she participated in direct combat, her service was still extraordinary because she marched with the regiment, performed military duties, stood guard, traveled across the frontier, and endured the demanding conditions faced by the soldiers around her. Leaving the Army, Cathay returned to civilian life and continued working to support herself, again as a cook, as well as performing laundry and sewing work, and eventually moved to Colorado. She spent time in Pueblo and later settled in Trinidad, where she worked as a seamstress. She married, but the marriage ended badly after her husband reportedly stole money and horses from her, and Cathay had him arrested. As she grew older, her health deteriorated significantly. She eventually suffered from serious medical problems, including neuralgia and diabetes, and had toes amputated, leaving her dependent on a crutch. 1891, Cathay applied for a military disability pension, hoping that her service would qualify her for financial assistance, but her application was denied after officials determined that she did not meet the requirements for the pension. The final years of her life remain uncertain, and historians generally believe she died around 1892 or 1893, although her exact death date and burial location have never been confirmed. Cathay's story remained relatively unknown for many years, but eventually historians and communities began bringing her remarkable life back into public memory. In 1876, a St. Louis newspaper interviewed her and published an account of her military service, providing one of the most important surviving sources about her life and motivations. Today, Cathay Williams is widely recognized as the only documented woman known to have served as a Buffalo soldier while presenting herself as a man. Her legacy has been honored in several ways. In 2016, she was inducted into the Santa Fe Trail Hall of Fame, and a bronze bust honoring her was unveiled at the Richard Allen Cultural Center and Museum in Leavenworth, Kansas, especially significant because there is no known surviving photograph of Cathay Williams, giving people a physical representation of the woman whose story had been hidden for so long. She has also been honored with a monument bench at the National Infantry Museum's Walk of Hall of Fame. Cathay Williams' story is about determination, independence, military service, and breaking through barriers that were considered impossible at the time. She had already learned about military life as a cook and laundress, and she used that knowledge when she decided to become a soldier herself. For nearly 2 years, she lived as Private William Cathay, marching, working, standing guard, traveling hundreds of miles, enduring illness, and serving alongside other soldiers without her true identity being known. Eventually, her identity was discovered and her military career came to an end, but what she accomplished could not be erased. Today, the woman who once had to hide her identity in order to serve can be remembered openly by her real name, Cathay Williams, a remarkable figure whose story deserves a permanent place in American military history.